Well, good day to you. It is May the 11th. I hope you are having a great day wherever you happen to be. My name is Gary Willing, and I want to welcome you to Search for Signs, and also welcome back those people who have heard these videos before. Now, if you are new to this information and you have a lot of questions about what I'm talking about Maitreya, about his priorities, perhaps you want to see if there's truth to this, what I'm saying. I don't ask you to believe me just on the fact that I'm saying it. I'm hoping that you take it a step further and investigate this information. And you can do it however you want to do it. Of course, there's plenty of websites that talk about Maitreya, pros and cons. And I don't have any websites with links to those websites that talk about Maitreya in a negative way, because you can find those very easily. You can find those YouTube channels very easily. But the ones that I put in there are information about Maitreya, some background information, especially the Share International site. So you can get a lot of information there, get a lot of your questions answered if that's the case. Now, if you want to ask me a question because you didn't get it answered by doing your own research, well then come back, ask me a question. The best thing to do is to post your question in the comments section. You can also email me at searchforsigns@mail.com. If you didn't get all that, that is actually in the description portion too, my email address. Or you can just post a comment and let me know what you think. And I do want to thank everyone who comments and asks questions. And we had a bunch since the last time I put a video up. It was wonderful. But I'm going to start with Timothy's. What are some thoughts on why Maitreya appeared to you? How many times have you seen him? Has he left you with any messages other than on the payphone? The first question, what are some thoughts on why Maitreya appeared to you? I am one of millions of people who have seen him in their own life. The one thing that Maitreya did say to a girlfriend at the time in reference to me was that he said, make sure that boy knows how lucky he really is. This is what he told her. I didn't hear what he said. I asked her after he had whispered it into her ear. That happened right before Benjamin Creme came to Atlanta, and I was driving him around from his hotel to the lectures and his speaking engagements and so forth while he was here. And my girlfriend at the time was in the back of my car. I was driving. Ben was sitting in the rider's seat. If we were in London, he would be driving. I'm just kidding. No, because he would be on the right side. Anyway, that's a joke. But anyway, so we're talking about this, and she mentions this person who she thought was Maitreya. I didn't know enough about it to know it either way, because I don't know if I guess I did kind of recognize him as being Maitreya at the time. But anyway, when she came to the point where she said, he told her to make sure that boy knows how lucky he really is, I was playing the lottery thinking that, wow, maybe I'm going to win the lottery. And this is the thought that I had. I didn't say it. And Ben looked at me and turned to me and goes, you're not going to win the lottery. But what Maitreya was saying to her was, I was lucky because I recognize it. For some reason, I can recognize him in these situations. Now, I do think that Maitreya makes it easier for somebody like me, because a lot of times he'll say something that I was just thinking about days ago, or contemplating, or working on, or mulling over, or having a problem with my own life, that kind of thing. And he would address it in a very direct way. And that's what made it easy for me to recognize. And then I would start to listen to him, and the more he was talking to me in that situation, then I would be like, oh, you know what I mean? So, but there might be other times that I didn't recognize him. I don't know, but it's a true statement to say that I am one of millions of people who have seen these masters already. I'm just one of the lucky few who have recognized him now. I do think, and I've said this before and I'll say this again, I do think that there will be millions upon millions of people after the Day of Declaration who will suddenly remember an experience with Maitreya, and will come forth with their experience stories and say, this is something that I forgot about, or this is something that I didn't realize was him, or something like that. And it will create such a general interest in the masters and this fervor of wanting to know more about them. about their relationship with humanity. How long had that been going on, and those kind of things. And some of the things that they had already been teaching humanity that perhaps haven't gotten out yet. You know what I mean? The other thing is that, is that how many times has he appeared to me? I was trying to remember when I read your question. It's probably over a dozen times, if I'm not mistaken. I could be mistaken, but it's been a lot. And the first one was that I remember was when I was in elementary school. And he came into the cafeteria where I was eating with some of my classmates, because we always ate at the same time. And he appeared as a young boy, about the same age as me. And he was walking with the special needs kids. And I knew the special needs kids because some of them were actually teenagers, but yet still in elementary school. And I had seen them from kindergarten, first grade, second grade, and then when we all switched schools, because they built a new school at the time. This was the first year that this school had been built. After it was built, that we attended it. A lot of those kids that I knew from the elementary school that I went to prior were still in that special needs class. This kid, who ended up being Maitreya, I had never seen before, and he was walking with them. And as he was walking with them, he was behind that group and the teacher, and they didn't pay attention to him. He was by himself, kind of, but walking with them. But he was bouncing as he was walking. He had this huge smile and this kind of joyous boy energy to him, where he was just walking with them, and he was like loving life kind of deal. And as he's walking, I see him looking at me, and it's like he's got this laser focus on me. And there was probably 10, 15, 20 people at the table, the little cafeteria table around me, and they were all my class. And he's staring at me as he's walking. So I can kind of see him out of the corner of my eye, and I'm kind of trying to ignore him, but I can't stop looking at this kid. And he comes right at me, and then gives me this huge hug and starts swinging me back and forth. Now, the special needs kids did not pay attention to him at all, but the people at my table all saw him along with me. And they all started laughing at me, making fun. Well, your son, because what he said was, he goes, my brother, it is so good to see you again, my brother. I missed you so much. I love you so much. And he's swinging me back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. And of course, my friends were mocking me because he was a special needs kid, or was with that group. And as he was walking away, I take that back. Before he walked away, I pushed him away and I said, "Get away from me, you octopus!" Or "Get your hands off me, you octopus!" That's what I said, because he was really hugging me. And as he was walking away, I'll never forget that look. He turned around and gave me this smile. And that's how I recognized Maitreya when I saw his picture in the Maitreya's Mission Volume 2 book of him in Nairobi, Kenya. He was a blonde-haired, blue-eyed, third-grade kid, but the eyes and the face and the smile were just how it was in Nairobi, Kenya. It's almost uncanny. But I remember thinking, he looked at me and he said, "You'll get it one day." Just walked away. And I never saw him again. I never saw that kid in that school again. And I actually looked for him because I felt bad that I pushed him away, and I was going to try to be his friend. But I never saw him again. That was the first experience I had with Maitreya. Now, the first one I remember was that payphone that you were talking about, that I talked about in several of the videos. But the things that he said to me, yes, he did say some other things to me. I'll leave you with, was it 3? Okay, so I was at work, and this happened, I started working with this new job in 2013. So this was after 2013. I was going through a kind of a rough time. I wasn't doing much with this work, and I was kind of stressed financially and these kind of things. And I see him in the store that I'm in, and he's walking, and he got a cup of coffee, and he's walking, and he takes his money and he smacks it on the counter, and it was so loud I actually jumped back. But nobody else in the store saw him. And he looks at me and he goes, "Peace always starts from within. I'll see you later," and walked out. And I started thinking about this, and this goes to my whole talk about belief, is if I just believed it and didn't do anything with that, it would mean nothing. and so you don't have to, you didn't have to see him for this to hopefully help you. But peace does come from within, and it does start from within. And I started looking at it and applying it. And the times that I were getting stressed, I was like, no, peace comes from within, right? And I would center myself, right? And there's times where I go through those moments and I remember what he said and I try to apply it, you know. The other thing that he said to me, and this was back in, when was this? This wasn't too long ago. I had come across, this was probably, this was right I think when COVID, the year after COVID. So this probably was 2021. I was working with the same company, and I was in this truck. I worked at this truck stop, and oh, well, let me go back. So I came across a baby picture, my first baby picture when I was a kid, and it looks like I'm boxing because the way my hands were. And I looked at my wife and I said, wow, it's like I've been fighting my whole life. Look at this. You know what I'm saying? And I was just kind of joking, right? But yet kind of looking at a quality of myself where I just seemed like I was always fighting everybody on every little thing. But I was starting to kind of not do that. And I was also starting to see when I started to fight people on stuff and argue with people and debate people and all those kind of things. And I was like, you know, I should stop doing that, right? And then I saw this picture and I was like, wow, it's like I've been fighting my whole life. Well, anyway, it is probably a week or so after that, I see him as this truck driver, and I'm out with my trainee in the parking lot, and we're working in the parking lot, and I see Maitreya on the other side of this truck stop. And when you got trucks with a bunch of diesel engines and the reefer on the back of their trucks and stuff, it can be very loud in the parking lot. And I hear him screaming my name. I had never seen this gentleman before. Gary! Gary! I mean, he was screaming it. He opens the door, and he's coming out of the store to his truck, and he's screaming my name, Gary! And I come over to see what he needs, because I didn't know who he was at the time, until he said to me, he puts his hands up in the same position that I had that photo of me as a child, and he goes, it's like you've been fighting your whole life, man. But then he said something that gave me some encouragement. He goes, but you're starting to learn what I learned a long time ago. To not fight everything, is what he said. And then he kind of shadow boxed me like Ben used to do with people at the conference, because Ben used to box in his youth. And he kind of touch my stomach, you know, like he's boxing me. And he goes, you have a great day. It was really good seeing you again. I had never seen him before. And that's what he said to me. And then he got in his truck, and I'm walking over to his truck, and he flashes this huge smile, honks his horn, you know, with the string, you know, right, like this in this truck. And I was about to touch his truck, and I heard this voice in my head very loudly, do not touch the truck. And I pushed my hand away, and it drove away. I don't think that truck was really there, because my trainee didn't comment on him talking to me in that way. Didn't even pretend. I don't know what she saw, you know what I mean? But as I was walking with her, he was talking to me. She didn't really pay attention to him at all. It was kind of weird. But I felt like when I heard that voice to not touch the truck, that truck wasn't there. And had I tried to touch it, he would then have to materialize the truck for me. And he didn't want to waste his energy. That's just kind of what I thought. But the one that I'll leave you with, and this is the one that really, really, really changed my life, that he said. He said, and this was after I had gone through a bout in my life where I wasn't doing much with this work, and I didn't feel very happy with myself for doing that, for not doing anything. I looked at the hand of Maitreya, that picture of Maitreya, and I talk about the hand of Maitreya and how that you can invoke his help by looking at it and so forth. And I was looking at the hand of Maitreya one night, in tears actually, and I said, I can't even call myself your disciple. I'm like the worst disciple out there, right? In fact, I don't even think I am a disciple. I'm that bad, right? I got all these issues going on in my life and da-da-da-da-da. Well, not too long after that, I saw Maitreya at this peace rally, and I recognized him immediately when I saw him. He was a young African-American man with this wonderful skin, slightly taller than me, maybe 6'1", 6'2", kind of thin. He had a very purple scarf around his neck, and he flashed me this smile, but he was missing a tooth. I mean, he had the perfect teeth. I mean, every tooth was just perfect, except he was missing one of his front teeth. And then I went, that's Maitreya. And he looked at me and he smiles again. Now he's got his tooth. And he winks at me once I think, that's Maitreya. And he was talking to a lady at the Peace Rally. I can't remember her name. But anyway, he was talking with her, and she really was about 4.5 feet tall. She was really short. And he was leaned into her, and he was just smiling at me as she was talking to him about the war in Iraq and how bad it was and all that kind of stuff. Well, as I was going and then he left, and then as I was going to, and I thought that was it. And as I was going to my car, I see him sitting down on one of the tables next to this bar in this alleyway as I was going to my car. And this was in Marietta Square. Anyway, and he stands up and he goes, man, all those peace rallies, and he starts talking about the peace rally and this. I can't remember what he said about that. It was not that what part wasn't really that important. And then as he's talking, he all of a sudden just interrupts himself and he goes, I never judge anyone on whether they're good or bad. I only notice the good things that they do. And then he looked at me and he goes, hey, do you mind if I have 25 cents? Do you have 25 cents on you? And I actually had some change in my pocket, and I was about to give him 25 cents, and I opened up my wallet and I had $19 in ones. And I gave him all the ones to him. And he goes, wow, thank you, right? And then he looks at me and he goes, this is what I wanted to leave you with about you said, were there any other messages other than the payphone? This was probably the most important thing he's ever said to me. And I always share this with people. He goes, you're going to see me on TV real soon, and we're going to change the world together. That's what he said. And it's amazing to hear him say that. And not long after that, he made his first television appearance. Now, the other thing is about I never judge anyone, whether they're good or bad. I only notice the good things that they do. I at first thought that was a reference to what people think about Jesus, which you could interpret it that way. Jesus is interpreted or is believed by the Christians to come back and judge the wicked and reward the faithful, right? And this was his way of saying he's not here to do that, right? You could look at it like that. But years after, I took it a step further and I started looking at myself. I'm like, I've always wanted to be a loving person, and I've heard that these masters are love unconditionally, and that's kind of what I always wanted to inwardly aspire to be like them, right? But you can't go from being critical the way that I was to being loving unconditionally overnight. You have to work at it, right? So I tried to apply that in my life, and I started to apply that with some of my coworkers who I was having problems with. I started to notice one or two good things that they were doing, and then it would change a little bit, and then they would, they're kind of bad at their job, but you know what? They did this, and I started to soften on them, and I wasn't so critical of them, and I even started to defend some of the same people that I was very critical with. Once I started to see one or two things that they were doing good, in helping other people out or whatever it was. And somebody would come to me with criticism about them, and I would say, but they did this. So I started to notice that it changed my attitude toward people. So I keep practicing it. I'm not perfect at it, but I keep practicing at it. And if you try it, I guarantee you it's going to change your relationships with people. To look at one or two good things. You don't have to try to love them unconditionally, especially those people you're really having a hard time with. But if you can just look at one or two good things, you can focus on that. You start to change your attitude to them, and they all start to change their attitude toward you. It's quite the most extraordinary thing. A teacher is known by the fruit that of their teachings. The truth of Maitreya's teachings is in the fruit of what comes out of those teachings. It has nothing to do with a devotion to a teacher, like so many Christians have with Jesus, or the Muslims have with Muhammad, or God knows who, whatever other guru. It does not matter. What matters is the teachings that you're learning from them changing your life for the better. That's the most important thing. That's the only thing. And so if you look at some of the little things that Maitreya said to me and try to apply it to your life and just see if it changes your life, right? Go to the Share International site, read some of the other things of the teachings of Maitreya and see if that doesn't help, those kind of things. But I love you guys for the questions. I do want to get to some of the other comments that came my way that I didn't get a chance to because this video is getting kind of long. So either tomorrow or sometime next week, I'll take the time to record those videos too. I love you guys so much. Thank you so much for your questions and your comments. Keep them coming. And like I said, take the time out of your day and just take a second or two or a minute or two and go to the Share International site and read more about Maitreya. Again, thank you very much. You guys have a wonderful day. Remember to take action and help SOP save our planet. Thanks for listening, and we look forward to talking to you again in future videos.